Turns out the galaxy's most wanted attack fleet was just bad sensor data. The Galactic Council detected a massive invasion fleet on its sensors and issued a galaxy-wide alert. But upon finally encountering the so-called fleet, they were shocked to discover it was merely a single patrol ship dispatched by humans. However, the weapon signatures emitted by this lone vessel were so immense and sophisticated that border sensors across all quadrants misinterpreted the data. What should have been recognized as a single ship was mistaken for an entire armada. Admiral Samar watched in stricken disbelief as every subsequent detector sounded the same alarm. Though reality failed to support the data, his forces, currently grounded and refueling in solar orbit, were unharmed. Yet his computer terminals began flashing red and amber. Grainy records and tuning disks overwhelmed his mind, a chaotic flood of data recalling decades of strategic predictions and computational models meant to safeguard civilization. "You haven't just been given an appointed task," he whispered, "but a cornered people to protect." The advanced base in the 14th subsection of Solas was designated the Viceroy, Deep Blue. Earth defense, a geopolitical maze now knotted around an unlikely cause, sickle cell anemia, and debates over historical injustices between Europe's black populations and corporate shareholders. Some argued over the recipient of a long-lost ceremonial prize, the Emperor's Cup, while others attempted to revive traditions that had been buried for 4 generations. Admiral Samar struggled to rally his officers. Himself rolling off his bunk and rushing to the hologram basin launchers, he ordered. The ship began broadcasting messages that clearly weren't of Council origin. CCTV was still online. Then, without warning, he took a 10-foot dive to execute a left-looped parabola. Wind and data resistance disrupted the maneuver, but he held the line. A single human patrol ship on routine duty triggered galaxy-wide panic when advanced sensors misinterpreted its cutting-edge technology as a hostile fleet of 3,000 vessels. Admiral Kane mobilized the largest military response in galactic history only to find the fleet was actually Lieutenant Webb's lone ship. Its technology was so advanced that it overwhelmed Council detection systems. The incident exposed the shocking fact that human military development had leaped far beyond what the rest of the galaxy imagined. That laughable misunderstanding became the spark that led to the discovery of a real, approaching intergalactic threat, eventually triggered unprecedented cooperation among all galactic species. The same patrol ship would later become central to saving civilization itself. The Galactic Council's Central Command had been sounding emergency klaxons for 6 hours. Admiral Zephyr Kane stood before a towering holographic data projection, her forearms crossed behind her back. Vortham species were known for calmness, but even Kane's breathing was uneven. The sensor data she read didn't make sense, but she had to make sense of it. "Madam, as many as 17 different sectors have now reported in," said Lieutenant Commander Jasper Voss, his tentacles flying across the console with practiced familiarity. "The fleet is enormous. We estimate 3,000 vessels, possibly more." "Kai-IP," Kane muttered. Her primary eyes narrowed while her secondary ones locked onto the tactical screens. "Where are they coming from?" "Unknown, Admiral. The energy signatures don't match any known species. The quantum resonances are unlike anything in the database." "Show me long range again." The holographic map rotated. A red cloud, massive and mobile, crept inward toward Council space. The energy readings were terrifying. Weapon signatures from this supposed fleet made their most advanced dreadnoughts look like children's toys. "Admiral," interrupted Communications Officer Naira Chen, "we've received priority distress calls from the Corvan Empire, the Zilthic Confederation, and the Hegemony of Worlds. They're all requesting immediate military aid." Kane clenched her jaw. These were the galaxy's most powerful military entities. None had ever requested help before. She turned to her chief tactician, Thorn Blackwater, a scarred condor. "Veteran Thorn, give me your honest analysis. I've studied the data for 4 hours. Based on energy output alone, this fleet could glass entire systems. If they're hostile, madam, we may be facing extinction." The bridge fell silent. Kane, seasoned by decades of service, felt something she hadn't in years. Fear. She summoned the full council. One by one, faces appeared. Chancellor Trell, cybernetically augmented. Empress Lyra, vexed, scales shimmering under stress. Prime Minister Garrett Steele of the Hegemony, visibly shaken. Leaders of dozens of species filled the display. "You've seen the data," Kane said. "This threat eclipses all known military power," Trell interjected. "They'll reach our colonies in 72 hours. Council space could fall within a month." Vex hissed. We've begun evacuating border systems, but where can we send them? We don't run, declared Prime Minister Steele. Humanity didn't claw into the stars to flee at the first real threat. Kane raised her voice. Enough. I invoke Protocol 7. Gasps followed. Protocol 7 had not been used since the synthetic wars. It meant total unification of all military forces, ceasing all disputes, and placing all under one command. Within hours, 8,000 warships converged. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, bioships, carriers, the fleet was the most powerful ever assembled. Kane observed from her flagship Emerald Heart as ancient enemies flew side by side. It's beautiful, said Captain Devon Reeves. And terrifying, Kane replied. In all my years, I never expected this unity. Intelligence reports confirmed the enemy fleet would arrive within 6 hours. Then something changed. Admiral, said Voss, they're slowing down. Their formations are drifting, scanning us. Yes, Admiral, but their scans don't match anything we've seen. 30 minutes to contact. Tension thickened. Crews whispered farewells. Prayers filled comms. Admiral, said Voss, again now visibly confused. The fleet has stopped. They're just misfloating. 1 light minute away. Weapons powering down. 10 minutes wait. He cut in. A single ship is detaching. Very small size. Patrol boat, ma'am, coming at sublight speed. Kane blinked. You're sure? Positive. It's transmitting. On Ancient Council dead languages, the message came through. This is Lieutenant Marcus Webb, Planet Terran Patrol Boat Defiant, requesting ID of this assembly. Kane was stunned. A Terran patrol boat? What's it doing here? Reeves went pale. Admiral, the Terran Federation doesn't send patrol boats into Council affairs. They're autonomous. Commander Voss, she snapped. Scan that ship's energy signature. He worked his console. Slowly, his eyes widened. This is impossible. Report. The patrol boat's energy signature matches the ghost fleet we've been tracking exactly. The energy curves, quantum patterns, it's all identical. You're telling me this ship is the source of those signals? It's the only explanation, Admiral. Kane took a breath. Lieutenant Webb, what powers your ship? Mark 7 fusion core, standard for patrol, recently upgraded from older models. What weapons? Standard loadout, plasma cannon, torpedoes, defense screens, but with the new Terran upgrades, quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons. Kane turned to Reeves. Captain, how far ahead is Terran tech from the Council? Reeves hesitated. That's classified. I'm ordering you, he exhaled. 5 to 7 generations, depending on the system. Kane closed her eyes. 1 human patrol boat, accidentally generating ghost signatures powerful enough to be mistaken for an armada, nearly triggered a galactic war, and yet this mistake had revealed the gap between human and galactic technology, and warned them just in time to prepare for the real threat still inbound. What began as a false alarm would soon become the beginning of the galaxy's true fight for survival. Kane felt a laugh bubble up from her chest. Tinged with hysteria, Commander Voss, is it possible that our sensors are interpreting a single ship with extremely advanced technology as multiple vessels? It's theoretically possible, Admiral. If the energy signatures were sufficiently beyond our sensor parameters, the computer might try to rationalize the readings by assuming there were multiple sources, and the perfect formation, the synchronized movement. It's because it's one ship, ma'am. Perfect synchronization because it's a single unit. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The greatest military mobilization in galactic history had been triggered by a single human patrol ship, its technology so advanced that their sensors couldn't properly interpret it. Admiral Lieutenant Webb's voice came through the speakers. Is everything all right? Over there, you've been quiet for a while. Kane took a deep breath, trying to process the magnitude of what had just happened. Lieutenant Webb, are you on a routine patrol? Yes, ma'am. Just doing a sweep of the Outer Rim territories. I didn't expect to run into the entire Council fleet, all by yourself. Yes, Admiral. All 12 of my crew and me, 12 people, 12 human beings aboard one patrol ship had accidentally caused the mobilization of thousands of ships and millions of lives. The diplomatic implications alone would take years to resolve. Lieutenant Webb, Kane said carefully, I need you to send us your complete technical specifications. All of it. Power output, weapon systems, shield, strength, everything. I'm not sure I'm authorized to, Lieutenant. Captain Reeves interjected. This is Captain Reeves. You are to comply with Admiral Kane's request. For disclosure, yes, sir. Transmitting now. The data that followed caused audible gasps from several members of the bridge crew. The patrol ship's weapon systems produced energy outputs exceeding their heaviest battleships. Its shields could withstand attacks that would vaporize their most armored vessels. Its power core generated more energy than many space stations. My God, Thorn Blackwater whispered. This little ship could take on half the fleet, and when Admiral Voss said quietly, I'm recalibrating the massive fleet reading on our sensors. It's just the one ship. Kane activated the fleet-wide communications array. All ships, this is Admiral Kane. Stand down from battle. Stations, the threat has been ... resolved. The response was immediate and confused. Hundreds of voices flooded the comm channels, demanding explanations, reporting conflicting sensor readings, asking for clarification. Admiral Chancellor Trell's voice cut through the noise. What do you mean, resolved? The enemy fleet is still showing on our sensors. Chancellor, have your technical staff recalibrate your sensors to account for extremely advanced technology. The fleet you're seeing is a sensor ghost created by a single patrol ship. A lone ship. Admiral, that can't be. Another voice argued. But Chancellor Kane replied, their tech is at least 7 generations ahead of anything currently known to the Galactic Council. Our sensors must have misread the energy imprint as multiple ships. They cut the communications. Gradually, reports trickled back in as ships reset their instruments. The fleet vanished from their displays, leaving only a lonely little security patrol boat. This ... has never happened before, Empress Vex said softly. All our ships mobilized by the appearance of a single scout. It looks that way, Your Majesty. Lieutenant Webb, are you still there? Affirmative, sir. And may I say, this has been one hell of a patrol. I can see that. Lieutenant, on behalf of the Galactic Council, let me apologize for the confusion. You are free to go about your duties. Thank you, ma'am. But I can't help wondering how often does something like this happen to you people? Kane couldn't help but chuckle. No, Lieutenant, it's never come up. With the Defiant returning to its patrol route, the colossal Council fleet began the long process of dismantling. Ships that had prepared for the greatest battle in history suddenly learned they were headed home, their crews trying to understand what had just happened. Admiral Reeves whispered, that was very badly handled. There will be harsh diplomatic repercussions. The other species will want to know just how far human technology has come. I know, but that's a problem. For our politicians, for now, let's just get everyone home. Madam asked Voss, if a single human patrol ship caused this, what would an actual Terran fleet look like? Kane pondered it. The Terran Federation had been considered a minor power for half a century. They're military competent, not extraordinary, but if these were their patrol ships, what were their warships like? That's a question we need to start asking, she replied. The next few days were filled with debriefings, diplomatic summits, and urgent calls. The media dubbed the incident the Great Patrol Panic. Military analysts tore through the Defiance data, stunned at the discrepancy in technology. The Terran Federation's response was measured. Yes, their technology had advanced substantially, but they had no hostile intentions. They only sought to protect their territory and remain on peaceful terms with their neighbors. Still, questions lingered. How had humanity barely 2 centuries into interstellar societal, so far ahead? What did this mean for the balance of power? Admiral Kane became a central figure. She addressed the council, testified before military panels, answered endless questions from the media. At a press conference, reporter Stella Cross asked, Admiral, do you believe mankind poses a threat to galactic peace? Kane took her time. Humanity has shown itself to be peaceful. Possessing advanced technology doesn't automatically equate to aggression. Lieutenant Webb and his crew weren't invading anyone. They were on a routine patrol. But doesn't that have military implications? There's always concern with military advancements, Miss Crofts, but from what I've seen, Reeves Webb and countless other Terran officers act with professionalism, honor, and restraint. But what about the secrecy? Why keep their advancements hidden? And they didn't hide them, we simply never thought to ask. The press conference continued for over an hour. On every issue, Kane emphasized, this was a misunderstanding, not a threat, but privately, she wasn't so sure. 3 weeks later, Kane received unexpected news. Captain Reeves visited her office with a serious expression. What is it, Captain? I want a meeting arranged with someone from the Terran Federation who can put a spin on recent events. She studied his face. Are you finally going to tell me what's going on? I'm having someone else tell you. Someone cleared to discuss classified material. How classified? Classified enough to explain why one patrol ship triggered the mobilization of 8,000. 2 days later, Admiral Kane sat in a secure conference room aboard the Terran Federation ship Horizon. The ship was sleek, powerful, using technology far beyond Council vessels. She was greeted by Admiral Helena Cross, commander of the Outer Rim Fleet. "Admiral Kane," Cross said, shaking her hand, "thank you for coming. What I'm about to tell you is known to only a few people in this galaxy. I'm listening. The Terran Federation has been preparing for a threat from outside the galaxy. Our intelligence has picked up signs of a massive force approaching from intergalactic space. They're years away, but when they arrive, it'll make your sensor Phantom fleet look like a joke." Kane's blood ran cold. "Another species? Not exactly. We don't know how many galaxies they've consumed. At least 3. They don't negotiate. They don't conquer, they devour everything. And the high-tech weapons, that's humanity preparing for them. We've been developing every defense we can, new weapons, new shielding, new strategies. We're not looking for war with the Council, but we are getting ready for the war we know is coming." "Why didn't you tell the Council?" "We weren't certain our information was correct," said Cross with a grim smile, "and we didn't want to cause panic. Ironically, by keeping the matter confidential, we've caused even greater panic. What do you want us to do?" "To join us. This threat is beyond the capabilities of any one species. Only by working together, pooling our knowledge, technology, and strength can we hope to survive. But we must do it quietly. Open discussion would cause mass hysteria and likely collapse the political order." Kane considered the plan. It was overwhelming. If the humans were right, then what they had just experienced would pale in comparison to what was coming. "How long do we have?" "Conservative estimates say 15 to 20 years. Maybe less if they accelerate. And you believe your technology can make a difference?" "It's our only hope," Cross replied. "But we need time and we need the help of the entire galaxy." Kane nodded slowly. "What do you need from me?" "Help us persuade the Council to initiate a massive R&D campaign. Quietly, present it as a push for technological advancement, not as military preparation. And help us identify other species willing to participate." "You're asking me to deceive the Council," Kane said, anger flashing in her voice. "I'm asking you to help us save the galaxy," Admiral Cross replied with a sad smile. "Sometimes, the truth is too dangerous to tell." Hours later, a different piece of the puzzle fell into place. Kane's younger sister, working intelligence under Cross, had revealed more. Humanity did have a plan, but the threat was too vast, too incomprehensible for most governments to accept without panic. The sacrifices required were ones no normal administration would ever choose to make willingly. That as Kane prepared to leave, Cross handed her a datapad. "Everything we've discussed, Tental reports, technical specs, strategic models. Read every word, Admiral. It may determine the fate of every species in this galaxy." Kane boarded her vessel, her mind racing. The patrol ship incident had been humbling and chaotic, but also revealing. Humanity's secrecy made sense now. They weren't preparing for war, they were preparing for extinction prevention. But what to do with this knowledge, the Council would eventually need to know. But too early, and they'd panic. Too late, and they wouldn't have time to prepare. Over the following weeks, Kane quietly reached out to trusted colleagues. She framed the issue as a technological survey and military readiness program. Slowly, small collaborations formed. The Corvan Empire committed to developing new energy weapons. The Zilthak Confederation began joint efforts on defensive systems. Even the reclusive Umbral Syndicate entered talks on stealth technology. 6 months after the Great Patrol Panic, Kane once again found herself overseeing a massive fleet, but this time they weren't gathering for war. They were converging on a secret research facility in the Outer Rim, a place where biologists, physicists, engineers, and strategists from across the galaxy worked side by side on projects once thought impossible. Inside the facility, Corvan scientists debated with Terran engineers, Zilthak biologists exchanged ideas with Umbral cloaking experts. The spirit of cooperation was unprecedented. Commander Voss stood beside Kane as they observed the bustling labs. "Admiral," he said, "I've gone through the reports. The progress made in 6 months is ... extraordinary." "Agreed," Kane said, "but we'll need every advantage we can get." "Ma'am, do you truly believe the humans are right about this threat?" Kane paused. Before them, 5 different species collaborated on a shield generator, one without the traditional limitations of power or coverage. "They're right to be concerned. Commander, we don't know the exact nature of the threat yet, but their obsession with preparedness means something is coming. And if we're wrong, then we'll have built the most advanced fleet in galactic history and forged the strongest alliance ever known." Kane allowed herself a smile. There are worse outcomes. As Kane continued her inspection tour, she reflected on the journey. A single patrol ship had triggered the most consequential series of events in modern galactic history. Lieutenant Webb and his crew had simply followed orders, and yet, by showing up at the right place at the right time, they had set in motion a movement that might save all life in the galaxy. Admiral, came Communications Officer Chen's voice through her wrist. We have an urgent transmission from the Terran Federation. Put it through. Admiral Cross's voice came over the line, tight with urgency. Kane, we have a problem. Our long-range sensors have picked up movement. The threat is decelerating. We may have less time than we thought. Kane felt a chill down her spine. How much less? 10 years maybe. We must accelerate our efforts. Understood, Kane replied. I'll begin allocating additional resources and strengthen the teams. As the call ended, Kane looked down at the facility alive with the energy of thousands working in hope, not yet knowing time was slipping away. Commander Voss, she ordered, initiate emergency protocols. Triple our research output, but, ma'am, with respect, we're already pushing the edge of what's scientifically possible. Then we need more scientists, more equipment, more time. She paused, watching Terran engineers explain breakthroughs to alien colleagues. And we need to start telling people the truth. Not all of it, but enough to give them real motivation. The following days were a blur. Kane met with leaders across multiple worlds, revealing more and more of the real situation. The reactions were mixed. Some agreed instantly. Others hesitated, but momentum grew. Scientists suddenly found themselves given limitless budgets. Military commanders shifted their focus to threats from beyond. Civilian engineers began designing ships of war instead of exploration. The incident that had once been seen as accumulation misidentifying a single patrol ship now served as the catalyst for the galaxy's greatest mobilization. Standing on the bridge of her flagship, Kane watched the research station's lights shimmer like distant stars. She thought of Webb, the man who unknowingly altered the course of history. His patrol had sparked a chain reaction that led to this moment's scientific unity, diplomatic cooperation, and the chance for survival. The threat was real, but for the first time, Kane felt hope that the galaxy was no longer fragmented. It stood together. 2 years later, the research facility had expanded across 3 star systems. Technological collaboration reached unprecedented levels. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached, beaming, Admiral, our test runs on the new energy matrix are exceeding all expectations. The Corvin-Silthak fusion systems are producing 10 times the projected yield, and the Umbral cloaks integrated perfectly. We can now hide an entire fleet and maintain full combat readiness. She paused. 3 years ago, these species wouldn't even share navigation charts. Now they're sharing black-budget prototypes. Kane nodded. Fear has a way of bringing out the best in people. Thankfully, this time it worked. Commander Voss arrived, datapad in hand. Admiral, we've received the latest readings from Terran Deep Space Monitoring. The threat has entered the galactic edge. Kane's heart skipped. How long? 5 years, possibly 6. But there's more. The force is nearly 10 times larger than our last estimate. The room fell into stunned silence. 10 times, whispered Dr. Vasquez. That's more than all our combined fleets by orders of magnitude. Then we need to be 10 times more creative, Kane said. Call an emergency meeting. 1 hour. In the command chamber, representatives from every species gathered. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed allies, Kane began. Our enemy is arriving faster and stronger than we imagined. The time for half measures is over. Debates raged. Resources were reassessed. Feasibility studies rewritten. But no solution matched the scale. Then quietly, a voice spoke. What if we're thinking about this wrong? All eyes turned to Dr. Zara Chen, a young human physicist. What if, instead of trying to fight millions of ships, we go after their command structure? Kane leaned forward. Explain. Our scans show unified coordination, perfect synchronization that suggests central control. If we disrupt it, we collapse their fleet. Dr. Blackstone nodded. One pebble thrown at the right place, and the avalanche stops. But how do we find it? General Stone asked. And how do we get close? And with that, a new phase began. Not just a race to build ships, but a race to find the weakness in a force so large it defied imagination. But this time, they had something no threat had ever faced before. Unity. All that calls for advanced technological development, Dr. Chen said. The Umbral cloaking systems will get us within striking range undetected. Corvin energy weapons will cut through their defenses. Our Zilthic bioshields can withstand counterattacks, and with the human quantum drives, We'll be in and out faster than they can respond," added Dr. Vasquez. For the first time since receiving the updated intelligence, Admiral Kane felt a flicker of hope. "How long will it take to develop something like this?" she asked. "With the resources we have and the cooperation we're seeing now, I estimate 18 months for preliminary testing," Dr. Chen replied. "And within a year after that, we should be fully operational. That gives us maybe 3 years to prepare for deployment," Kane calculated aloud. "Tight, but possible." Admiral Commander Vios interjected. "This plan will require a level of coordination and precision never before attempted. We'd be putting the fate of the galaxy in the hands of a single strike team, as opposed to scattering our fleets thinly and trying to stop millions of ships the conventional way," Kane countered. "Sometimes the greatest risks offer the only chance for real success." The meeting ended with the formal approval of Operation Lighthouse, a daring, coordinated strike to sever the enemy's command structure and plunge their fleet into disarray. It was bold, untested, and reliant on brand new technologies. And yet, it was also their best hope. The next 3 years passed in a blur of construction, training, and breakthroughs. The research station grew into a mega-complex spanning moons and starbases, employing millions of scientists and engineers from across the known galaxy. Kane led interspecies coordination efforts on an unprecedented scale. Though the pressure was immense, the results were inspiring. Each day brought new prototypes, alliances, and reasons to believe. "Admiral," Dr. Vasquez said one day, "the prototype strike ship has passed all final tests. Every system is functioning within optimal parameters, and the crew, volunteers from all major species, they've trained together for 2 years. They operate as one. Commanding officer, Captain Devon Reeves. His second in command is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb." Kane smiled. Webb had insisted on being part of the mission. "Since it started with my patrol," he'd said, "I want to be there to finish it." His ship, the Defiant, had been rebuilt from the hull up, fitted with the most advanced systems known, and now served as the command vessel of the strike force. "When do we launch?" 1 week. We'll intercept the enemy before they reach planetary orbit. If we miss that window, we'll have to resort to a conventional battle. Launch day came with both celebration and tension. The strike group comprised 12 ships, each one a masterwork of cooperative engineering. Every participating species had contributed their finest. On the bridge of the new Defiant, Captain Reeves surveyed his crew: humans, Corvans, Zilthic, Umbrils, and more. It was a sight that would have been unthinkable just a few years prior. "Lieutenant Commander Webb, status report." "All systems green, Captain. We are departure ready," Reeves nodded. "Admiral Kane, this is Captain Reeves. Lighthouse Strike Group is ready to depart." "I read you loud and clear, Captain. The fate of the galaxy is in your hands. We won't let you down, Admiral." As the cloaked strike fleet departed, Kane stood on the observation deck, watching the stars swallow their ship's hull. Journey to the intercept point took to silent, nerve-wracking weeks. Using only passive sensors and deep space telemetry, they remained completely dark to avoid detection. Then, on the outer edge of the galactic cluster, they saw it, the enemy fleet. Millions of ships stretched across the void in coordinated formation, each vessel exuding a cold, alien menace. Their dark shield swallowed all light, giving the illusion of an infinite, moving wall. "Dear God," Webb muttered. "How can anyone fight that?" "That's why we're here," Reeves replied. "So no one has to." The strike team's objective was simple in theory: locate the command vessel and destroy it, disrupt their coordination, break the nervous system. "Approaching vector locked in," announced the navigation officer Thrix, a Corvan with 4 arms moving in perfect sync across the controls. "Target in 47 minutes. They moved like ghosts, slipping silently between massive enemy ships that looked more like living creatures than spacecraft. They pulsed with an inner energy, seemingly organic in their movement and construction. "Located," the tactical officer reported, "dead ahead. 2 million kilometers. Size colossal." The command vessel dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. Between it and the fleet flowed glowing streams of data neural links, binding the entire force like a hive mind. "This is Captain Reeves to all ships. Target confirmed. Stand by for coordinated assault." Weapons powered up. Shields went live. Crews braced for impact. The moment had come. Fire. The strike began with devastating precision. 12 ships unleashed a symphony of destruction: Corvan plasma beams, Zilthic bioblasters, Umbral disruptors, and Terran quantum torpedoes. The command vessel reeled under the barrage. Systems flared. Shields collapsed in sectors. For a breathless Moment it looked like they had done it, but then it began to recover. It's still operational, Webb reported grimly. Hit the damaged sections again, Reeves barked. Now the second volley was merciless. All weapons fired at maximum output. This time, the damage was irreversible. The massive ship tore open from the inside, explosions cascading through its superstructure. Then, silence across the enemy fleet. The effect was instant and catastrophic. Vessels drifted off course. Formations broke apart. Their hive mind collapsed. Data streams vanished. Strike Force Lighthouse to all Council forces, Reeves transmitted. Primary objective completed. Command vessel destroyed. Repeat, command vessel destroyed. Across the galaxy, cheers erupted. On planets and stations where tension had held for years, species dared to hope. They celebrated. They laughed. They cried. But it didn't last long. Admiral Kane. Reeves transmitted hours later. We're detecting new incoming signatures. Thousands more vessels. Possibly millions. This was only the vanguard. Kane stared out the viewport of the command center, her face hardening. Understood, Captain. Return to headquarters. We have work to do. On the journey back, Kane reflected on all that had come before. A misunderstanding with a patrol ship. A false alarm that turned out to be the spark that saved them all. Humanity's hidden technology. The formation of the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. Lieutenant Webb and his crew, just doing their jobs, had changed everything. They had sparked a chain reaction that showed the galaxy what it was truly capable of. The patrol ship, once feared to be a fleet, had revealed something even greater, the power of unity. Now, with new threats looming, that unity would be tested again. But Kane no longer doubted. But galaxy would stand together.